to the tree, friends.
So in the early childhood education program, we really focus on the students learning about developmentally appropriate practice, or DAP is how it's known in our profession. And that is the cornerstone of our early childhood education program. So it is covered or introduced to the students in the foundations class, and then every class that comes after that builds on it a little bit more, adds a little bit more to it, explains it in different ways and how it applies to different aspects of the classroom, so that by the time they leave us, they should have a very firm grasp on what developmentally appropriate practice is and how that translates into early childhood classrooms. So when they go out and get their job, a lot of them are working as they are taking our classes, and so they're applying what they're learning in our classes right to what they're doing in the classrooms with children. They are taught things like how to set up the classroom that's appropriately for them, what kind of curriculum to offer, and when I say curriculum, we really talk about the play curriculum a lot and how children learn naturally through play. Early childhood education, our program, is based on teaching students to work with children from birth to age 5. And so they get a good base of knowledge about infants all the way up to a child who's going to be entering into kindergarten. So when we talk about curriculum for early childhood, we have a variety of materials that we bring in, and depending upon what the class is and how the content, is covered, we get them involved with those materials so that they understand how they work. We tell them kids need to have it in their hands so they can get it in their heads. Same thing with our students. We teach them that way. I've had many directors tell us, we can tell when we get a Butler trained student or a teacher that applies. For one, they come in with a pretty impressive portfolio, because that's what they do in their capstone course with us, is create their professional portfolio. But another thing, they said they know early childhood well. They can understand theory, but they can also apply it. And they said, we can really tell your graduates when they come into our programs. So our students are being taught by professionals who are in the field doing what they're talking about in classes. It's just a great way for them to learn from someone who's actively doing the work daily. At Butler, we really take the time to get to know our students in the early childhood program. And it's important because part of developmentally appropriate practice is developing relationships with the children that you teach. Well, our program takes that to heart, and we develop relationships with the students in our program. I'm still in touch with a lot of graduates, and I know my adjuncts are as well. I always tell my students, you're one of the most important teachers a child will ever have, because besides their parents, at the very beginning, you lay the foundation upon which all other learning is going to come. And so it's important that you know what you need to know about those ages. And we have high expectations for our students, and very rarely does that not get met, because they know how important it is. Working with children is too important because their brains develop the most between birth and age 5. And the activities and the interactions that they have with their environment and with the people around them, their important adults, that's what creates that brain growth. That helps all those connections to be made. And when I talked about that foundation of learning, starting with the early childhood teachers and the parents, I'm not joking, it's huge. If they go away from our program knowing what developmentally appropriate practice is, they can go and be successful anywhere and teach in those early childhood programs and serve those children well and have relationships with families, because you don't just have the child that you work with in early childhood, it's that whole family.